All right, you guys want to jump in?
Let's jump in. Let's just do it. Free
All right.
Willy.
I don't think we can do that on the podcast, Jake. I'm pretty sure.
Well, now we got a good cold open, so.
I was going to use us shitting on Dan's draft picks, but
Yeah, I mean, you can use all of that. Like, we can do half of the episode as a cold open. That's fine.
a podcast about bourbon and the ones who drink it. This is Bourbon Matters. Welcome to Bourbon Matters. I'm Jake.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Gold Eagle Jake.
We're again kind of winging it tonight.
Free Willy.
So we want to touch on. So for everybody that I think everyone's aware that Lake County Whiskey Club birthday bash was now a couple weeks ago. Last week we revealed that the mystery bottle was Kentucky Owl Batch 11, which was Dixon Deadman's last blend that he did for the brand before leaving. Feedback was awesome on it. Everybody that tried it said it was fantastic. I also thought it was fantastic. So I'm really glad we picked that one. It was a good one for listeners to get to try.
It was very good. And a few people guessed not only what bottle it was, but the exact batch, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Well, shout out to Gary, because apparently he said he was just sipping on that same bottle at home, and he knew that it was Batch 11 of Kentucky Owl. Not just Kentucky Owl, but Batch 11.
How lucky for him that he just sipped on that. It sounds like he has a perfect alibi for how he guessed it right.
But then somebody else told me...
You think that's the first time he's ever had to have a perfect alibi?
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody else told me they saw a slip of the bottle when it was being put on the bar. So who knows what happened there. But
we were pretty early. That was definitely before Gary got there. So
yeah, well,
if he got a peek, it was a different peek.
Well, I mean, the sensible thing would have been to put it in a different bottle, but let's not reinvent the wheel, I guess, boys. Like, let's not try.
I didn't have.
Yeah, something. I don't know about that. I don't think that would have been a good idea because then there would be going back and forth on the legitimacy of the bottle.
Or a decanter.
I don't know. Decanter would have been good. Next time we'll do a decanter. But
yeah.
But anyway, got to give him some props. If that is totally true, then congrats, Gary. That's very impressive.
You sound very skeptical on it, Jake.
Well, I don't know. Like it's one thing if you're like, oh, it reminds me of Kentucky Owl. I think it's Kentucky Owl, but to guess the exact batch. That is either, I don't know, a little bit of luck or just very, very impressive.
Yeah, leave a comment if you think Gary's full of shit or not.
Yeah, let us know. I'm going to get some flack from Gary for this.
To be more precise.
But that's what this podcast is about.
Full of shit on the guess. Like, we all know Gary's full of shit. Mm-hmm. But if he's full of shit on the guess, leave a comment. Like, we all know.
We all know Dan was going to say that either way.
Yeah.
What else did people discuss about Bourbon Matters at the birthday event, Jake?
So I had several people come up to me and say that they really enjoyed our draft episode. And every single one of the people that brought that up asked me what the hell Dan was thinking.
Well, that's weird because when I was there, no one talked to me about that.
You were not there.
Yeah,
I was totally there. You were just drunk. I totally showed up a little late.
Well, that's why nobody talked to you because you weren't there.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
The amount I care of what people think about me is surprisingly low. So, like, it doesn't bother me one bit. Like,
yeah, I walked up to get a pour of something, and I think it was Bob that was like, "Oh yeah, like I just was listening to the draft episode, and yeah, you and Jake put together some great teams, but I don't know what the fuck Dan was thinking.
Do it all over again. You know what, Bob? Pick the same damn team. Don't give a shit. Really don't.
That sounds like Dan. That's the attitude.
Yeah. Double down on your mistakes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Never admit defeat.
No. You talk shit. You talk shit when you're winning or losing. Never stop talking shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you only talk shit when you're up, you're just an asshole. Which I'm also that as well, but for different reasons. No. Stand behind everything I say. No problems. They're all allowed to their opinions. Start your own goddamn podcast is what I got to say. Don't. We already have enough competition and we already suck at it, so don't.
So, there were lots and lots of bottles available just out on the bar. So I think anybody that didn't get to go or is not a member of the Lake County Whiskey Club, I highly recommend doing so. The event was $95, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering right. And it was, unlimited pours from probably close to 100 bottles that were available.
I think it was an absolute steal of a price to get in and taste what you got to taste at that event.
Yeah, especially because almost all of those bottles were hard to find, or at least not readily available. In most cases.
We were even just talking before this that, there were 6 bottles that were supposed to be like the most sought after / hardest to find. But Matt and I had planned that out over 6 months ago on what bottles those were going to be. And we talked about this, 2-3 weeks ago on the podcast about how much more there is on the shelf that there wasn't a couple of years ago. And it seemed like very recently there's just been more and more and more. So the whole lineup altogether, I didn't even use any of my tickets for the allocated pours because there were just so many things just out there to help yourself with that I wanted to try and that were just incredible value for the price that you got to go in. And like you said, it was unlimited pours from about 70 or 80 bottles.
Yeah, and I got to try, I think, at least 3 Gold Eagle barrel picks that are sold out. So that was pretty fun. That Journeyman whips and corsets was particularly
that was
good.
amazing. That was the first time I got to try that in like 2 years.
Yeah. That was one of your like really early barrel picks, wasn't it?
Was that like back a couple of years ago when that was still really good? The whips and corsets?
I wouldn't say back when it was really good. I would just say when you find a good barrel of Journeyman, it's really, really good. Most of the time it's average, if best. But when you find a really, really good barrel of Journeyman, they can be really good. I mean, we saw that with our rye barrel pick from Journeyman, ended up winning double gold. It was a Chicago Whiskey Fest, but it was 76 rye whiskeys blind tasted, and our Journeyman barrel pick was ranked number 1. It's like when you
sold out of that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but that one sat on the shelf for a year and a half until Journeyman entered it without even telling us. And then as soon as it won first place, they told us, and it sold out that same day.
Wow.
Yeah. So
they held 1 bottle back for that.
I think they came and bought it off of our shelf, and then entered it into the competition, and it ended up winning first place out of 76 rye whiskeys blind tasted. And then the barrel sells out, and it was just collecting dust on the shelf.
Yeah.
So, it's amazing what, I don't know if like hype is the right word, but yeah, it's amazing what hype does. And yeah, to tie that all in together, when you do find a good barrel of Journeyman, it can be really, really good, but the average stuff on the shelf is average.
Well, I mean, that's a good transition into what we decided our loose topic is going to be for the night. Yeah, I think it's been over a year since we talked about hyped up whiskeys. It might have even been like a year and a half. But looking at what was available on the bar versus the ticketed pours behind the bar at the birthday bash, we thought it would be another good time to address limited editions and hard to find releases and allocations, and what's overhyped and what isn't. So I know, like, first thing I tried there from the ticketed stash was Russell's 15. It was excellent. I don't know if there's anything else to add to that.
Do you like Russell's 10 though, or not? Like, what's your thoughts on Russell's 10?
I think I like Russell's 10.
So I'll add to that. I didn't even get to try the Russell's 15, and that was probably the only thing that I would have gone for out of those pours. I got there at 6:30. The event started at 6, and that bottle was gone. So people went hard for those allocated pours right away. But Russell's 10, I totally agree with this. But if you ask pretty much any wild turkey buff, they will tell you that there's just something off with Russell's 10 that just doesn't line up with the rest of the Russell's lineup. Like Wild Turkey 101, phenomenal for under $25 a bottle. Russell's 10, you would think is going to be good as well because it's a 10-year bourbon for under $40. And there's just something different about Russell's 10 that doesn't really flow with the rest of the Wild Turkey lineup.
Are the Russell single barrels, are those 10 years stated or no?
No, but they're around, I think, 8 or 9 years, and
Okay.
they're also 110 proof, where the Russell's 10 is 90 proof.
Okay,
So
I'm thinking of the single barrels then.
I think that
really
lower proof point. Because I mean, I compare it all the time to Eagle Rare. Like, people are freaking out over a 10-year bourbon Eagle Rare. That's $40, $45. Actually, it's a little higher now with the new price increase, but I always used to compare that to Russell's 10 and be like, well, here's a 10-year bourbon that's the same proof and the same price. Great alternative. But because it's on the shelf, most people didn't want it. But also, people that love Wild Turkey will tell you that there's just something different about the 10 that doesn't hold up to the rest of the lineup.
Yeah, I've never really enjoyed it, and it was in a blind I was in once, not at Gold Eagle, when I worked back at Whiskey Acres, and it was the one I ranked last out of the 6 by a long shot. I'm like, well, it holds true in this blind too for me. But yeah,
I mean, I've had 13 before. I liked 13 a lot. And I liked 15 quite a bit. Of the 3 whiskeys I tried from the ticketed side of things, that was probably my favorite. Close second was Michter's 10 Rye, which I, got because I knew I liked it already. And then I had 2 buddies there with me, Kevin and Daniel. And I got the Maker's cellar aged. I think it was a 2024 release.
Yes.
Double check me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The most recent one.
And I took a sip as they were deciding what to get, and I was like, don't get this. I was like, get anything else, because this is like super disappointing. And I'm upset that I didn't get the Booker's instead.
The anniversary batch.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Maker's Cellar, I've heard a lot of people say this year is just not as good as the original release.
Yeah, I know you liked that quite a bit, right, Dan?
2023 was probably my top 10 favorites, of all time.
Yeah, I had very high hopes for 24 because it was higher proof, and I feel like they would have followed it up with something a little bit better, but a lot of people say it's not as good as 23.
So that being said, everything I tried on the bar, which was just readily available. Well, I mean, a lot of them were single barrels that I tried. Some of them sold out, but they were there, completely open, drink as much as you want. Were way better than everything I tried from the ticketed selection. So that's what I think Jake felt the same way. So that kind of prompted us to think about the overhype of limited editions and special releases and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Good transition. So yeah, I don't there's a lot of mental hype that comes into play when searching for whiskey, and I totally understand. You really like this distillery, they come out with something very limited, there's only a couple bottles that hit each store. Totally understand why you'd want to hunt that down, and then when you do find that bottle, if you find it and open it and taste it, your brain is already turned on a different switch and telling yourself how good this bottle is going to be. So I think that kind of goes back to why we like tasting things blind and doing a lot of blind tastings, because you just take all that hype away and you just taste the whiskey for what it is. And a lot of times the bottles and packaging are much nicer and much more expensive than the normal bottles, so that adds to the cost and exclusivity as well.
Yeah, I mean, our worst offense was before Jake joined, but we got our hands on Castle and Key's initial bourbon release. If you go back and listen to the episode, Dan, Roberto, and myself are all like, "Wow, this is good."
No, I did not like it. It was the old. You guys said everything was good.
Dan's going to rewrite history a tad, but
no, you guys always said everything was good, and you guys always called me a curmudgeon. This is great, and I'm like, no, this
you
is
definitely didn't say it was bad.
I said it was.
You definitely didn't say it was dog shit like you.
I didn't say it was dog. I still don't think it's dog shit. I still don't think it's dog shit, but it wasn't good.
Here's where we need to edit the episode and put in a clip of that original episode.
That's too much work for Jake. He's not because, and then the other thing he's going to know is, one, it's too much work, so he didn't do it, and two, he looked at it, realized I was right, and he's like, well, I'm not going to put this in because that's going to make Dan look right again. So,
but yeah, I mean, I think you were the one that texted us. And you were like, have you guys had that Castle and Key recently? And Roberto and I were both like, no, we haven't. And you're like, go smell it real quick. And me and Roberto separately both smelled ours and texted like, what the hell happened to this? Because it smells horrible.
What the hell happened was you guys started tasting real whiskeys and more whiskeys.
Yeah.
And your palate developed and grew, and you realized, okay, this is mediocre at best, and there's so much good stuff out there.
Yeah, and that one was heavily backed by Bourbon Graham influencers. So I think that probably helped play a little bit of a part in our assessment of it. But
I mean, I've been on the other end of the spectrum lately of like, I haven't really saw it and tried to worry about any single special release.
You're trying to not buy anything.
Back, but even so, like, there's not like any bottle that I'm sitting waiting to come out and trying to get my hands on. I've never done that. I haven't done that in a long time. Not that I've never done that. We did that when we first. Everyone does that when you first get started. And I think people have gotten mad at me because I've gone to different things where people have been pouring stuff. They're like, oh, dude, you got to try this, and they'll get mad because I'm like, yeah, it's fine. And like, I feel bad because they're like so excited about it, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of a meh. It's nothing that blew me away. It's just kind of mid.
Well, you're also a contrarian, so
yeah. Well, true. But I mean, the way I've changed as I've aged with whiskey is it's got to be something pretty darn special that really hits a spot for me to say that it's good. Otherwise, I mean, there's so much whiskey that's just good. Like, there's so much this is good whiskey. I can drink this, but it's like, don't give me all this hype and how good this is, and then let me taste it. It's like, man, it's just kind of like every other whiskey that I've had. It's like every other finish I've had. It's like every other one of these I've had. There's a lot in that range, and that's why I'm more fine with the majority of stuff that's on the shelf these days. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. I'm not as limited in my scope of interest as you are. But generally now when I buy stuff, it's usually at master classes after I've tried something new.
Yeah, but you're at a master class every week, and you buy a few bottles at a master class every week.
I mean, everything I just said remains true.
But he's also, tasting and not going off a hype. Like he's tasting these whiskeys and finding ones that he really likes to buy, which I think, that is really the only way to do it now with how much is out there. Like you got to taste stuff before you buy it. Unless it is something that you just can't live without. Like if you will die the next day if you don't buy this bottle, then you got to just go and buy it. But yeah, there's so much out there. There's so much coming. There's gonna be distilleries and brands that we haven't even heard of yet that are coming still. I mean, look at Rare Character, for example, that popped up out of nowhere 6-8 months ago, and now it's like the new hot thing. Everyone needs to collect them all, and there's going to be another NDP just like that comes out 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, and that'll be the next best thing. So
I've got a Rare Character from when we went down to Kentucky. That was like I think a Total Wine single barrel.
That must have been from one of their first releases.
This is like 2021, I think, was right, Dan, when we went there. 2022.
Where's that?
2022.
Where's that bottle? Go grab it.
It's over here somewhere.
Is it?
Yeah.
We had a 25% chance it's in this room.
It's probably more like about a 60% chance it's in that room. He's gonna have no idea where it's at. He doesn't.
I think I hit it.
He thinks he hit it from who? Have it in there and no one's gonna be able to spot it. Jake, Jesus Christ. While he's doing that, like, I don't know, there's certain ones that would, like, if there's an annual release of something that's very similar every year that you like, you can almost always count on it being good. And my thought on that would be, like we've talked about a few times, Woodford's Batch Proof. Like, Woodford Batch Proof is usually really good. It's way too overpriced. But every time I've had a Woodford Batch Proof from a different year, I've been really happy with it.
It is always good, but let's use Four Roses for example, because every year Four Roses comes out with their LE, and it's a blend, and it's really, really good. It's never bad. It's always super tasty, but it is one that's like extremely limited. We only get 3-4 bottles a year at the store on a good year. Is it that much better than a single barrel, which is usually 10 to 11 year and also barrel proof and less than half the price of the LE? I think if you put 4 single barrels in the Four Roses LE in a blind, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to pick the LE as your favorite in that lineup.
That's true.
Ooh, this
is it. Yeah, it's from 2022.
Wow. So all right, so
16.30 proof,
and that's interesting because like I didn't even know they'd been
5
around
years,
for
7
that
months.
long.
Bottled January 2022.
When the hype gets real, it gets real, and it kind of starts spreading.
Yeah. We should do something special with this.
We should,
since everybody's all worked up about it.
Let's throw it in next year's birthday bash blind so Gary can guess it.
You probably just opened a bottle and just sipping on it just yesterday.
Gary went to a liquor barn in Louisville. The same, it was probably like.
It probably sat on the shelf for a while.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it MGP?
I would think so. It's 75 corn, 21 rye.
Distilled?
For
I mean, that might be. Does it say Kentucky or Indiana?
Distilled in Indiana.
Okay, yeah. So MJP. I would imagine that's not something that sold out quick, especially back then. Nobody knew who Rare Character was, and you're talking to MGP single barrel in the middle of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been somewhere at 22.
Yes, it was this and a 4 gate that I was choosing between. And this one was like $200 cheaper than the 4-gate, so I went with this one.
I think you made a good choice. I mean, the 4-gates are all good, but they're pricey.
Yeah.
Or you could put that bottle as a $10 a pour for charity.
That is not a bad idea.
Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. This guy might seem like a dumbass, but he's actually pretty damn smart. So
once in a while. Once in a very long while. But yeah, I mean, to your point, Yolan, like, I would be, other than probably like Stag Senior, there's probably not a lot of LEs that people are like, that's my favorite of like any brand that I can think of anyway, off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably agree. I think the thing that pops up most in my head outside of Buffalo Trace would be Parker's, but also Parker's is very different every year.
Yeah.
Like they do, the cognac finish, malt whiskey. They did like the heavy char. They've done rye. So depending on what you like, you might not be a huge fan of it. The other one is Four Roses. There's people that hunt down the Four Roses one every year, and I think that's more so just because how limited it is. And they do tend to use a lot older whiskey in the blends for those.
Well, they also have, is it OESQ? That's the combination that people always say is the best single barrel.
I don't think so. I mean, that was the one that we picked, and that was a really good barrel.
It is, yeah.
I'm not totally up to speed on all the different combinations and what's the best because, I just go off a blind tasting when picking a barrel there. But that's an interesting point because we had this discussion at Four Roses when we were doing our last barrel pick. We all, I can't remember what the combination was, but we knew about the combination where everyone thinks is the best, and we concluded at the pick that the only reason why people think it's the best is because it's the most rare, because it's very rare to get a good barrel out of that mash bill. Because out of our set of samples, and Four Roses does it the right way, I got to give them credit. You taste 10 samples blind, and they don't tell you what's what until you pick the barrel that you're buying. So they won't even give you a hint on the mash bill or anything until you pick the barrel you're buying. Then they tell you what everything is. And it turns out whatever the rare one was like the worst sample for us that we all hated and ruled out right away. So we concluded that people think it's the best because it is rare that you find a good barrel with that combination of mash bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the last time we talked about limited editions is I've kind of been turned off on them because every month, every single distillery has at least one limited edition coming out, and it's like, do you need to do that many limited editions? Like, if you have a limited edition every month of every year, is it really limited? Like, or are you just calling it limited and making it limited so it sells?
We were just texting this week about E.H. Taylor Bottled and Bond joining the ranks of BTAC, which is the wildest thing I think Buffalo Trace could have done because they have regular Bottled and Bond Taylor already as a like soon to be everyday item probably in the next like 2 years.
It's genius.
I mean, it is because everyone's going to go apeshit for it, but
I mean, it'll be in a cooler looking bottle.
It'll be older too. It'll probably be
it's not age stated. So
none of them really are.
No, but no, there's only 2 in the BTAC that are age stated.
If you're going to do a 100 proof bottled and bond, you should age state it.
But you can,
in the
if
BTAC lineup,
you can look up the age of George T. Stagg, even though it's not age stated. Most of the time, it's like a 15 year or around there, and I'm sure that Taylor is going to be 12 to 15 year at least.
And they might. So this is all based off of the approval through the TTB, and it's the front small label sticker that they put on the BTAC stuff, and then the back label.
Yeah.
And on the back label of both Eagle and SAS 18, the Eagle 17 and SAS 18, It says that age on the back of it. The only thing I thought of that they could do with Taylor, since it's got to be bib and it's got to be all from one distillation season, is they might not pick it until late that year, and they could always put a sticker of what year it was distilled in on it if they wanted to do that.
Oh,
and then there's
that's true.
None of the language on the back is stuck in it saying this, because they could get to the time where they're going to start batching it out. And if they say every year is going to be a 14-year, but since it's bib, they don't have the 14-year that they like, then they can't put it in that bottle, and they got to go through a whole new labeling process.
Yeah, if they do a variable statement, that would be good, I think. But if they just leave it as it's bottled in bond, that's like really dumb, in my opinion.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
It'll sell
it's gonna,
no matter what.
It's going to sell no matter what, and people are going to hunt it down and pay ridiculous prices before they even taste it.
Will it come with a fancy tube? But since everything else in BTAC does not, will it stay naked?
No, it's going to be
It's probably going to come naked. They should, they should come with like a glass tube. That would be badass. Yeah.
A Baccarat glass tube.
Yeah.
Still, I think Woodford's got a monopoly on that.
I will say I'm a little surprised because there's been rumors of Elmer T. Lee joining the antique collection for years.
It's like, to me, that would be a better ad at cast strength than Taylor. Because like Taylor already has a full lineup, I don't
like here's
know why it.
Here's a 15-year Elmer T. Lee, and they probably wouldn't do cast strength since it's 90 proof, but they would probably do like 100 proof or 110 proof.
Yeah,
something a little bit higher, stretch it out a little bit. But
because they do that. That's what is the Eagle 17 100 proof, or is that still 90?
It's 100. Unless they might have gone back to 90, but they switched to 100 just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I think,
And the Eagle 17?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let me look real quick. I thought it was low.
It's
I know,
but it's higher than Eagle.
I know they switched to 100 about 3-4 years ago, but they might have gone back. But I think they're still at 100.
The Google says between 100 and 109.
It's 100 then, or 101. I think it might be 101.
Maybe 101, yeah. But yeah, it's not this normal Eagle proof point. So yeah, I can see him do something like that with Stag.
But the Eagle, I've been part of blind tastings where there's 8 people and it's Eagle Rare 17 against Eagle Rare 10 single barrel pick, and the Eagle Rare 10 swipes it out 8-0.
Yeah, I've never tried that one. I think I've tried everything else in BTAC, but that, I have.
I haven't tried most of BTAC.
I think I've only had 1 year of 17, and it was part of that blind where we put it up against a 10-year store pick, and the 10-year store pick, every single person in the tasting chose over the 17.
Was it your last one?
No, it was number 2, I think.
From 2 years ago?
Yes.
That one was really good.
Yeah,
and very off profile.
Mm-hmm.
It was really tasty.
I had one, but I can't remember which one it was, and I didn't like it as much as the regular Eagle. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. Like, I think it's all hype and marketing and the exclusivity of having a bottle that you just can't find. Is that number 2?
This is the third. This is
the third. Yeah. So the third is good, but number 2 is the one that took down the 17. And I don't know. I think I've always thought the 17 was way overrated and over oaked. So we haven't really talked about that blind tasting much, and also it wasn't an official blind. It was just at somebody's house.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not official. So
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Not official.
No, I think I only got a 375 of that one, and I definitely killed it.
Yeah.
Dan didn't want to make a candle out of that one, so I threw the bottle out.
No,
Too small.
I did. I gave it to Jake.
He gave one to me.
Oh, did you take that one from me? Okay.
Yeah.
We did. We do have another Eagle pick on the way, and I think we did all 375s for this barrel.
Oh, nice.
Just to spread it out a little bit more. I mean, getting 400 bottles instead of 200, make it go a little bit further.
That's the problem with doing 10-year-old barrel picks. You don't get a ton of volume.
but they're also 90 proof.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like I think our last one we got like somewhere between 150, 180, 750s, which is not bad for a 10-year. But if you switch that to 375, now you can have 350 bottles that you can make 350 happy people.
Yeah. So I mean, all this talk kind of it brings me to one of the questions I wanted to ask, which is there seems, I think, a lot of the more experienced bourbon connoisseurs would probably prefer single barrels over most LEs. So I was thinking, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
A single barrel pick by a reputable company, yes, but like just by going straight single barrel, like I'm drinking a straight single barrel right now. It can be good or bad.
I mean picks.
Yeah, I think that's what you meant. Like good picks from a good store or a good company. I agree. I mean, that's not to say that people don't want LEs because, of course, everybody wants, like a Four Roses Limited or a Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. Just because they're so few and far between, it's always nice to have to share with people. But that is one thing that I notice with a lot of people that have huge whiskey collections is they'll say, "Oh, I want this bottle of George T. Stagg just to share it with people when they come over." Or I want this bottle of Four Roses LE to share it with people when they come over. I'm drinking single barrel picks that I really like on a daily basis, and that's when I'm sharing my friends that have hundreds of bottles in their collection. But when you get someone that comes over that's kind of new to whiskey or isn't super into whiskey, those are the things that really excite them. The lot Bs, the old rips.
Don't scare them away with a George T. Stagg right out of the gate.
No, but when you have someone over that has everything, it's like, all right, here's something we can drink together and share. And now I'm going to show you
is a good one.
A couple other picks that really wow me.
The other thing that throws some people away from barrel picks is there's some people that just don't like drinking that high of proof. And a lot of limited editions can be in that 100 to 110 range.
You can always throw an ice cube in it.
Not the same. But it's weird because like I've always been a 110 to 120. Like I've always 110's been my favorite proof point, and I have no problem drinking up to 120 and plus. I still don't, but like the last 2 months, I've been drinking almost everything 100 to 110 right now. So
yeah, I think 110, 115 is a sweet spot in general.
Gold Eagle Jake, give it to him a 137 proof, and he's happy. But I'm getting older. I'm kind of toning it down a little bit.
I mean, a couple years ago, sure, but I wouldn't say I'm like in the 110 sweet spot range. I'm just more into the flavor and the palate. Like if it tastes hot, I don't care for it. The rare character that we dropped today is 128 proof, and if you gave that to me blind, I would legitimately say it tastes like 105. Like something that doesn't taste hot, that has good flavor. I don't really care for it being hazmat, but if it has good flavor and it's palatable and I can have a few pours of it without needing water or ice or something else to clear my palate, then that is good whiskey for me.
I feel like a lot of the store picks that you come out with are in right around usually between like 115 and 125. If I'm just guessing off the top of my head.
Most stuff's going to be in the barrel at.
Pulling this peerless single barrel,
Thanks,
which
Jake.
is I think your last one.
I
the
agree,
peerless
Dave.
rye is 113.
I like how you were holding back your laughs as I made the generic point that everyone's. But
what did you say? I was trying to complete my point while you were talking.
Well, your point was dumb because most whiskey goes into a barrel around 115 to 125 proof, so that's usually where it's going to come out close to.
Okay, so I'm correct. Thanks for clarifying.
It's like, well, this bourbon's made from corn. Good job, Jake.
But we've always kind of stood behind there's no reason not to pick it at cash strength, and part of that is because a lot of distilleries will charge the same price whether it's cash strength or not. And I always believe, like, hey, if we're going to buy this whole barrel, we want it to taste really, really good the way it is and not have to do anything to it to make it taste good. There's a time and place.
You don't want to buy water either.
No, but there's a time and place for a really, really good 100 proof bourbon. Like, the Old Forester 100 proof picks. Some of those are really, really good and awesome drinkers. But if I'm like in a rick house searching and tasting through barrels, I'm going to pick one that I think tastes the best at cash strength. I'm not adding drops of water to pick a barrel.
Well, that's why the Knob Creek full cast strength picks that are going to be coming are going to be so exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's essentially like a single barrel of Booker's and 2/3 of the price and older. Booker's is typically 7-year. These are going to be 9-year picks at cash strength. So,
yeah, another reason. Well, I mean, we really haven't talked about this much. I think it's worth mentioning, but like, this is such a good move from Beam to allow cast strength knob picks.
Yeah, and so what's interesting is when we were down there doing our last picks of Knob Creek cash strength, we were talking with our rep, and he was just like, oh, we've been advocating and trying to get Beam to do this for the last 3 or 4 years. Like, that is what every single account has like joked or asked for. Every time they come to do a pick, they're like, oh, why can't we pick it at cash strength? And so they were like, this was the first win that we had where Beam finally caved in and was like, all right, fine, we can do Knob Creek picks at cash strength.
It's like, is there only rationale just like the tradition of that proof point?
Well, I'm sure Dan can back me up on this, but it's so much easier with a TTB just to go with the standard single proof point. Just like, hey, everything's going to be 120. It's going to make it easier on our labels. It's going to be easier on our bottling team just to have a standard proof point. Because they're either going to do one standard proof point or they're going to do cash strength. And that just adds a whole nother layer of things that you have to go through to get that bottled. Which kind of sounds counterintuitive because you're just bottling it as it is, but you do need to get that exact label and exact proof and then get that approved before you bottle it and ship it out.
Well, no, so I mean, that's why a lot of them, the proof is on a sticker, is because the proof legally has to be on the bottle. But that's why they usually just do it that is. But then you either got to print out those stickers, or if you're a smaller distillery, you're handwriting that proof on a sticker. And not just like, I'm not just saying like Whiskey Acres. Like, there's a lot of places that are way bigger than us. Like Journeyman, all their stuff that's different is all handwritten on. And they have a girl that
Smoke
her job
Wagon is all handwritten on.
And they have a girl
Blanton's
at Journeyman.
Is all handwritten, isn't it?
And her job at Journeyman is just to write labels. And that's her job. Which sounds like a horrible, horrible job. But you got to write all that on there. I mean, the label and everything else is the same. You don't have to get that approved, but it's a different submission, and for taxes and everything, you have to have that barrel separated out from every other barrel. And when you're doing thousands of barrel picks for a large company like that, now you have 1,000 different SKUs basically, because it has to have a SKU to go to the distributor.
But they're doing that anyway.
No, because it's all the same proof. They're putting out the same product, basically. It doesn't matter what barrel number one in.
Aren't they paying on the end proof of the barrel?
No, they're paying on the end proof of the bottle. What's in the bottle?
No,
they know
I thought it's...
You go through, you do a report of how many proof gallons you went through overall for the month. Every month you do how many proof gallons you produced, how many proof gallons are in storage, and how many proof gallons you sold. So they get that from there, but you get priced per bottle, but you got to have the proof on every bottle, and if your proof is different for every single barrel, then you have to have a different reporting of that release for that bottle. Or if you're doing the same proof,
I thought you just paid taxes on the...
You pay taxes on everything about 7 times in the alcohol industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So 7 times in 7 ways is about the easiest way to put it. The joke is you pay more in tax than you do on the actual liquor.
Yeah.
And it's not too far off the truth.
I'm pretty sure it's on point.
Yeah.
with the amount that the distilleries have to pay and all the different fees involved, the whiskey is probably 20% of what the final cost is, if that.
So, but no, it's a pain in the butt for that, and that's probably why they do it. It makes it easier, especially when you're that big. So, I mean, it's not like it's impossible, but I mean, the amount of money you're now dedicating for someone just to do all the processing of that is, and the special labels goes up. I mean, when we do single barrel bottlings at Whiskey Acres, it takes an extra person to get the same amount of bottling done, and that's after someone's already written all the labels out for the proof. It takes an extra person just to put that extra sticker on to make sure our time ends up the same for how many bottles an hour we do. And that's just for slapping one extra sticker on a bottle.
Yeah.
So, but it's a pain. But yeah, good point, Jake. And it's not like it's that far off either. I mean, it's 120 proof, so you're talking. I get it. Like
probably a handful of proof points.
Yeah, you're talking less than 5 to 8 proof points for most of the bottles, but
yeah,
it's still more unique that way for the store.
But you get that extra little bit of flavor out of it. So,
well, I think just more authentic. Like, hey, this is straight out of the barrel. This is what it tasted like when we tasted the pick, which is like my big complaint from distilleries like that do barrel picks is you do taste it at barrel proof, but then you have to pick it at 120. And when you're sitting in the rick house and they're telling you add between 3 and 7 drops of water to each glass, more for the higher proof ones, it's like, okay, we're picking a barrel, but we're actually not tasting the exact final
product. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I think it's better for us, better for the consumers this way. Just to know that you are getting the exact thing that we wanted when we tasted and picked this barrel.
Yeah. Jake, if people want to buy some of those barrels that you guys have tasted and picked at barrel proof, where can they do that?
goldeaglewine.com. Follow us on Instagram at Gold Eagle Wine. Follow us on Facebook at Gold Eagle Spirits. We do have a few Knob Creek cash strength picks coming. So if you're interested in getting your hands on that, make sure you stay tuned. But yeah, a lot of good things coming actually. I was just chatting with a couple of the groups that we do picks with, and there's just better and better and more things that are coming down the pipeline. So there's no need to buy and hoard and fill your closets with Taylors and Wellers and Eagles. There's going to be a lot of good things coming down the pipeline soon.
And maybe even a Bourbon Matters pick.
There will be a Bourbon Matters pick. I need you guys to come up with a date.
We're probably going to have to do it in store. My time's going to get very tight here.
I don't know, Dan. Maybe we'll ship you some little taster samples or something.
Fine.
But
that's fine.
But yeah, we were talking about doing a Bardstown rye pick.
Can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, or I could just lick my own asshole and get the same flavor. So.
I mean, that was I think the pick that we did last year with HLP Systems was a huge hit. And actually, at the birthday bash, somebody won it in the raffle, opened it, and the entire bottle got killed within 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that is hopefully in the works, but we will have something really, really good for the Bourbon Matters podcast within the next couple of months. You got my word.
If anything sells great, it's rye.
The Bardstown rye does sell great. We sold out within an hour for our last pick.
All right. Jake, where can people hear our previous episodes, watch us, follow along with us, do all those fun things?
You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts or other podcast platforms. You can watch us on Spotify and YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with your friends. Make sure you leave some comments. We like hearing from people. Last week we talked about Patrick's questions about not Wild Turkey, Wilderness Trail, and Starlight. So, we like those topics to come up. So go ahead and shoot us a question, comment, or whatever. Tell us what you think about Dan's shitty draft picks. We love to hear it.
Mm-hmm. People that are telling me I had shitty draft picks are also Bears fans, so it doesn't bother me one bit. All right, boys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.